Captain Jake Morrison sat in his chair on the bridge of the human ship Liberty. The stars outside the windows looked peaceful and quiet. His crew was doing their normal work, checking systems and looking for new planets to study. It was just another boring day in deep space. The Liberty was not a big ship. It had only 37 people on board. They were explorers, not soldiers. Their job was to find new worlds and study them. Jake had been doing this job for 10 years now. He liked the quiet life among the stars. Lieutenant Amy Parker was working at the communications desk. She was a young woman with short brown hair and bright green eyes. She had joined the crew 2 years ago and was very good at her job. She listened to radio signals from across the galaxy every day. "Captain," Amy called out suddenly. Her voice sounded worried. "I'm getting something strange on all the radio channels." Jake looked up from his coffee. "What kind of strange?" "It's a distress call, sir. It's not like anything I've heard before. It's coming from everywhere at once." Jake walked over to Amy's desk. The radio was making crackling sounds. Then a voice came through, speaking in broken English. "Right. This is Elder Cathera of Kepler Colony. Our world is under attack. They are destroying everything. Our people are dying. Please, someone help us." The voice was old and tired. Jake could hear fear in every word. The message kept repeating over and over. "Where is this coming from?" Jake asked. Amy checked her computer. "Kepler Colony, sir. It's about 3 weeks away from here at our fastest speed." Ensign Ben Carter looked up from his weapons control station. T was a young man with black hair and serious brown eyes. "Captain, I've heard of Kepler Colony. It's home to the Verdani people. They're farmers and artists. They don't have any weapons or armies." Jake listened to the message again. The old alien's voice was getting weaker each time it repeated. "We call upon anyone who can hear this. Please, help us. The Galactic Council has left us to die. They say we are too far away to matter. If anyone is listening, please come. We are just farmers. We have no way to fight." Dr. Nancy White came onto the bridge. She was the ship's science officer, a smart woman with gray hair and kind blue eyes. "Captain, I've been studying the signal. Whoever is sending this is using a lot of power. They're broadcasting on every frequency at the same time." "That means they're really desperate," Amy said quietly. Jake looked at the star map on the main screen. Kepler Colony was a tiny dot of light, very far away. Between them and the colony was empty space. No other ships, no help coming. "Amy, can you find out anything about who's attacking them?" Amy worked at her computer for a few minutes. Her face went pale. "Sir, I'm picking up references to something called the Voidborn. Sydneys are talking about ships that eat planets." T's hands stopped moving over his controls. "The Voidborn, Captain. Those are just stories. Scary tales that traders tell in space bars." Dr. White shook her head. "I'm afraid they're real. Ben, the Voidborn are a race that travels from world to world. They take everything they can use and leave nothing behind. Whole planets become dead rocks after they pass through." Jake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. "How many people live on Kepler Colony?" "About 5 million, Verdani," Dr. White answered. "They've been there for over 100 years. They grow food and make beautiful art. They never hurt anyone." The distress call kept playing. Elder Kithera's voice was getting harder to hear. "Please, if anyone can hear this, we have maybe 2 days before they finish destroying our world. Our children are hiding in caves. Our cities are burning. We are not warriors. We need help." Jake looked around his bridge. His crew was small, and they were explorers, not fighters. The Liberty had some basic weapons, but nothing that could fight. A whole enemy fleet. They were just one little ship against monsters from space. "Captain," Amy said softly, "I'm also getting similar calls from other worlds in that area. The Voidborn aren't just attacking Kepler Colony. They're attacking at least 4 other planets. Jake closed his eyes and thought about his daughter back on Earth. She was only 8 years old. He had promised her he would come home safe from this mission, but he also thought about the 5 million Verdani families who would never see their children again if no one helped them. "Sir," Ben said carefully, "we're just one ship. What can we do against an entire invasion fleet?" Jake opened his eyes and looked at his crew. They were all watching him, waiting for his decision. He thought about what it meant to be human. Humans didn't leave people to die when they could help. It didn't matter if those people were the same species or not. "Amy, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we need every ship they can send to help us. Tell them about the Voidborn and the attacks." "Yes, sir." Ben, set our course for Kepler Colony. Maximum speed. Ben's eyes went wide. "Sir, are you sure? We don't know what we're flying into." Jake looked at the star map again. Kepler Colony was still just a tiny dot of light, but now it represented 5 million lives that needed saving. "I'm sure, Ben, no one else is going to help them. The Galactic Council has already said no. If we don't try to help, who will?" Dr. White nodded. "The captain is right. We took an oath when we joined the space service. We promised to protect and help those who needed." Amy finished sending the message to Earth. "Message sent, Captain. Earth Command should receive it in about 12 hours. "Good. Now, let's see if we can contact Elder Cathara directly. Maybe we can give them some hope." The Liberty turned toward Kepler Colony and began to speed up. Jake knew they were probably flying toward their deaths. One small ship against a fleet of planet killers seemed impossible. But he also knew that sometimes impossible things happened when good people refused to give up. As they flew through space toward the distant colony, Jake made a promise to himself and to his crew. They would not let the Verdani people die alone. Even if the Liberty was destroyed, they would make sure the galaxy knew that someone had tried to help. The distress call continued to play on the radio. Elder Cathara's voice was almost gone now, but his words still echoed through the ship. "Please, someone help us. We are dying." Jake Morrison and his crew were coming. Just hoped they would not be too late. Admiral Lisa Harper stood in the big war room at Earth Defense Command. The walls were covered with screens showing ships and stars all across human space. She had been in charge of Earth's military for 12 years, but she had never faced a choice like this one. Captain Morrison's message had reached Earth 12 hours ago. The recording played again on the main screen. Morrison looked tired and worried as he spoke. "Earth Command, this is Captain Morrison on the Liberty. We are 3 weeks out from Kepler Colony. The Verdani people are under attack by something called the Voidborn. These aliens are destroying entire planets. 5 million innocent people are going to die if no one helps them. The Galactic Council has refused to send help. We're going to try to hold them off, but we need backup. Please send everything you can." Lisa looked around the room at her officers. Colonel Ryan Brooks was her best military planner. He was a tall man with gray hair and sharp blue eyes. He had already done the math on their chances. "Camero, we can get 47 ships ready to go in 6 hours, Ryan said. "The rest of our fleet is spread out on patrol missions. We could call them back, but it would take days." Commander Kate Sullivan ran the intelligence department. She was a smart woman with red hair and green eyes. She shook her head as she looked at her reports. 47 ships against a void-born invasion fleet. The old records say they attack with hundreds of ships at once. We would be flying into a death trap. Lisa nodded. She knew the numbers were bad, but she also knew something about humans that the aliens in the Galactic Council did not understand. "Kate, what do we know about the Verdani people?" Kate checked her computer. "They're peaceful farmers and artists. They've never hurt anyone. They don't even have a real military. Some small security forces to keep order. Council is just going to let them die. Yes, ma'am. They say Kepler colony is outside their area of control. They claim they need their ships for more important places. Lisa felt anger building in her chest. She walked over to the big star map that showed the galaxy. Kepler colony was a tiny dot, far from the major trade routes and political centers. Ryan, how long would it take the council fleets to reach Kepler colony if they wanted to help? About 2 months, Admiral? Maybe more. Lisa stared at the map. 2 months was too long. The Verdani would all be dead by then. Captain Morrison and his crew would be dead too. Killed trying to protect people they had never met. Lieutenant Chris Davis was working at the communications station. He was a young officer with brown hair and serious eyes. Admiral, we're getting more reports from that area of space. It looks like the Voidborn are attacking at least 4 other colonies too. It's all peaceful worlds. Yes, ma'am. All of them are small farming or mining colonies. No military forces to speak of. Lisa made her decision. She turned to face her officers. Gentlemen, lady, here's what the Galactic Council doesn't understand about humans. We don't abandon people who need help, even if they're not our own species. Captain Morrison and his small crew are buying time with their lives. The least we can do is make sure their sacrifice means something. She pointed to the star map. Ryan, I want every available ship ready for combat and departure in 4 hours. Kate, contact our allies. Call the Mars Congressional Republic, the Terran Defense Coalition, even the small colony militias. Tell them what's happening. Ma'am, Ryan said carefully. This could be seen as an act of war. If we attack the Voidborn, they might come after human space next. Lisa looked at him with hard eyes. Colonel, if we let them finish destroying these colonies, human space will be next anyway. Voidborn are expanding their territory. It's better to fight them now while we have allies we can save. Chris looked up from his station. Admiral, I'm getting reports from Captain Morrison. Shh, he says he made contact with the Verdani defenders. They're trying to organize a resistance, but they're taking heavy losses. Lisa's jaw tightened. Morrison was already in the fight, trying to hold off an enemy he couldn't possibly defeat. She had to get help to him as fast as possible. Right? People, let's move. I want every ship we can find ready to go. This isn't just about saving Kepler colony anymore. It's about showing the galaxy what humans do when innocent people are in danger. The next few hours were chaos. Ships that were scattered across human space began moving toward the meeting point. The big military vessels came first, but then something unexpected happened. Corporate security fleets started showing up. Mining companies sent their armed ships. Trade unions called in their security vessels. Even independent traders and transport captains volunteered to help. Kate came running into the war room. Admiral, you need to see this. The response is much bigger than we expected. The main screen showed the gathering fleet. What had started as 47 military ships had grown into over 200 vessels of all sizes. There were big warships, small fighters, cargo ships with weapons attached, and even some passenger ships that had been quickly fitted with guns. Where did they all come from? Lisa asked. Word is spreading through human space like wildfire, Kate explained. People are hearing about Morrison and the Verdani. They want to help. Ryan looked amazed. Admiral, this is the largest human military force ever assembled outside of our own solar system. Captain Alex Turner commanded one of the volunteer ships. His voice came over the radio from a small cargo vessel. Admiral Harper, this is Captain Turner on the trader ship Horizon. My crew and I heard about what's happening. We're not soldiers, but we've got some guns, and we're not afraid to use them. Nobody should die alone when humans can help. Similar messages came from dozens of other ships. Captains and crews who had never been in a real battle were volunteering to fight. against one of the most dangerous enemies in the galaxy. Lisa felt pride swelling in her chest. This was what made humans special. When good people were in danger, humans would cross the galaxy to help them, regardless of the cost. All ships. This is Admiral Harper, she announced over the fleet communications. In a few hours, we're going to jump to Kepler Colony. I'm going to face an enemy that has destroyed entire civilizations. The odds are against us, but we're not going there to win easy. We're going there because it's the right thing to do. Okay, she paused, looking at the massive fleet on her screens. Today, we show the galaxy what happens when someone threatens innocent people while humans are watching. All ships, prepare for jump to hyperspace. We're going to war. The human fleet began to move toward Kepler Colony. 200 ships carrying thousands of people who had never met the Verdani, but were willing to die for them. The galaxy was about to learn something important about humanity. They never left anyone behind. Captain Morrison had seen many strange things in space, but nothing had prepared him for what he saw when the Liberty reached Kepler Colony. The void-born ships were not like anything humans had ever built. They were alive. The alien vessels looked like giant black creatures floating in space. Each one was as big as a small moon. Their hulls moved and pulsed like they were breathing. Dark energy crackled around them like lightning. Morrison counted 37 of the massive bioships surrounding the planet. "My God," whispered Dr. Nancy White from her science station. "Captain, these readings don't make sense. Those ships are actually alive. They're not machines at all." The Liberty hid behind a large asteroid at the edge of the solar system. Morrison watched through his telescope as the Voidborn destroyed everything around Kepler Colony. The planet's space stations were already gone, but the orbital defense platforms had been torn apart like paper. "Get that," said Ensign Ben Carter, pointing at his screen. "Those big ships are launching smaller ones." Tack. Craft poured out of the bioships like angry bees. They swarmed down toward the planet's surface, firing weapons that looked like streams of black fire. Where the weapons hit, everything simply disappeared. Lieutenant Amy Parker was trying to contact the planet. "Captain, I'm getting a signal from Elder Cathera. It's very weak." The old Verdunese face appeared on the main screen. His green skin was pale with fear and exhaustion. Behind him, Morrison could see smoke and fires. "To anyone who can hear this message, we have been fighting for 3 days now. The human ship Liberty found us, and Captain Morrison brought his people down to help us fight. They are brave beyond words." Morrison's heart sank. Security team was down on the planet with the Verdani. Chief Security Officer Tom Brady had volunteered to take 12 Marines to help organize the defense. Hassan had agreed, thinking the main fleet would arrive soon. "The Voidborn are not just destroying our cities," Elder Cathara continued. "They are eating our world. Our weapons drain the life from everything they touch. Our forests are turning to dust. Our oceans are drying up." Dr. White checked her instruments. "Captain, he's right. The bioships are literally feeding on the planet. They're taking its energy, its life force." "How much time do they have?" Morrison asked. "At this rate, maybe 2 days before the planet becomes completely dead." Morrison looked at his damaged ship. The Liberty had been in several small fights with Voidborn scout ships over the past 3 days. Their hull was scarred and burned. Their weapons were almost out of power. They had done everything they could, but it wasn't enough. Amy called out excitedly, detecting massive energy signatures at the edge of the system. Multiple ships coming out of hyperspace. Morrison's heart jumped. The fleet, the space, around Kepler Colony suddenly filled with light as hundreds of human ships appeared. The Earth Defense Fleet had arrived, led by Admiral Harper's flagship, the Endeavour. Morrison had never seen so many human ships in one place. Admiral Harper's voice came over the radio, strong and clear. "Captain Morrison, This is Admiral Harper. We got your message. Sorry we're late, but we brought friends. Morrison looked at his screens in amazement. There were big military ships, small fighters, cargo vessels with guns attached, and even passenger ships that had been turned into weapons platforms. Over 200 human vessels had come to help people they had never met. All human ships. This is Admiral Harper speaking. The voice continued. Today, we show the galaxy that nobody threatens innocent people while humans are watching. We didn't come here to win easy. We came here because it's right. The void-born bioships began to turn toward the human fleet. They moved slowly, like giant sea creatures in the deep ocean. Koa, Morrison could see weapons charging along their living hulls. All ships, attack formation Delta, Admiral Harper ordered. Let's send these monsters back to whatever hell they came from. The battle began with a flash of light that could be seen from 3 star systems away. The human ships opened fire with everything they had. Missiles, energy beams, and projectile weapons all struck the void-born bioships at once. But the alien vessels fought back. Their weapons were like nothing humans had ever faced. Black energy beams that seemed to eat light itself. When they hit human ships, the vessels didn't just explode. They seemed to fade away, as if they had never existed. Morrison watched in horror as the destroyer Courage took a direct hit from a void-born weapon. The ship simply vanished, taking its crew of 200 with it. Captain, Dr. White said urgently, I'm reading something strange. When our weapons hit their ships, they're adapting. Their hulls are changing to resist our attacks. This was what made the Voidborn so dangerous. They learned from every battle. They adapted to new weapons and tactics. It was why no one had ever defeated them before. But the humans kept fighting. When one attack didn't work, they tried another. When the bioships adapted to missiles, the humans used energy weapons. When energy weapons failed, they rammed the alien ships with their own vessels. Captain Janet Stone of the cruiser Defiance flew her ship directly into a void-born bioship's weapon cluster. Her sacrifice destroyed the alien's main gun, but cost the lives of her entire crew. This is madness, Ben said quietly. They're learning our tactics. How can we win? Morrison watched the battle and realized something. The Voidborn were learning human tactics, but they didn't understand human nature. They expected their enemies to retreat when faced with impossible odds. They expected fear to break human lines, but humans were different. The worse things got, the harder they fought. When one ship was destroyed, 2 others moved to fill its place. When weapons failed, humans used their ships as weapons. Amy, get me a channel to Admiral Harper. Channel open, sir. Okay, Admiral. This is Morrison. I have an idea, but it's dangerous. I'm listening, Captain. Morrison looked at his science officer. Dr. White has been studying how these bioships feed. They absorb energy from everything around them. What if we could overload them? What do you mean? The planet's mining stations have experimental energy cores. We could rig them to explode. In sequence, while the bioships are feeding, we might be able to give them more energy than they can handle. There was silence on the radio for a long moment. Finally, Admiral Harper's voice came back. Captain, that's the craziest plan I've ever heard. How do we know it will work? Okay. Morrison looked at the dying planet below, then at the human ships being destroyed around him. We don't, Admiral. But right now, crazy is all we've got. The battle had been going for 18 hours. Space around Kepler Colony was filled with the wreckage of destroyed ships from both sides. The humans had lost 43 vessels, but they had managed to destroy nearly half of the Voidborn fleet. More importantly, they had stopped the aliens from finishing their feeding on the planet. Admiral Harper stood on the bridge of the Endeavor, watching the tactical display. Her fleet was battered and tired, but they were still fighting. The Voidborn bioships had adapted to most of their weapons, but the humans kept finding new ways to hurt them. Admiral, reported Captain Paul Turner from the destroyer Valiant. The Voidborn are using some kind of group mind to coordinate their attacks. Every time we try something new, they all learn it at once. Harper nodded. She had expected this. Voidborn were known for sharing knowledge instantly across their entire fleet. It was one reason they had never been defeated before. All ships, implement Protocol 7, Harper ordered. Snow, the colony defense forces. It's time for the second phase. While the space battle raged overhead, something else had been happening on the planet's surface. Captain Morrison's security team, led by Chief Tom Brady, had been working with the Verdani survivors to prepare a massive trap. The plan was simple but dangerous. The planet had 3 large mining stations that used experimental energy cores to dig deep into the planet's crust. Dr. Nancy White had discovered that these cores could be rigged to create a massive energy pulse. Tom Brady's voice came over this radio from the planet's surface. Admiral, the charges are ready. We've connected all 3 mining stations to create one big energy feedback system. Brady was a tough Marine with 20 years of experience. He had volunteered for this mission, knowing he might not survive. Along with him were 12 human Marines and about 50 Verdani volunteers who knew the mining systems. How does it work? Harper asked. Dr. White explained from the Liberty. When the Voidborn bioships move into feeding position, they create energy links with the planet. If we triggered the mining cores at that exact moment, we can send a massive power surge directly into their ships. What are the risks? The explosion will be visible from several star systems away. Anyone on the planet's surface near the mining stations will probably die. And if it doesn't work, we'll have wasted our only chance. Harper looked at the battle display. The remaining Voidborn bioships were moving back toward the planet. They had learned to avoid the human fleet's weapons and were preparing to resume feeding on Kepler colony. Tom, what's your status down there? Brady's voice was calm and steady. We're ready, Admiral. The Verdani people have been amazing. They're scared, but they're helping us save their world. Elder Kathira's voice joined the conversation. Admiral Harper, I want you to know that the Verdani people will never forget what humans have done. For us, you came when no one else would. You fought for us when we could not fight for ourselves. Elder, get your people to the underground shelters, okay? This is going to be big. We are ready. Do what you must do. The Voidborn bioships settled into position around the planet. Their feeding tentacles reached down toward the surface, beginning to drain the world's remaining life energy. The aliens thought they had one. They believed the humans were beaten. They were wrong. All ships pull back to safe distance, Harper ordered. Morrison, you have the honor. Light them up. Captain Morrison looked at his crew on the Liberty. They had started this fight with just 37 people trying to help strangers. Now, hundreds of human ships had joined them, and they were about to try something that had never been attempted before. Amy, give me a direct line to Tom Brady. Channel open, Captain. Tom, this is Morrison. Are you ready? Ready as we'll ever be, Captain. It's been an honor serving with you. Morrison closed his eyes for a moment, thinking about all the brave people who had died in this battle. Then he opened them and gave the order that would change everything. Do it. The explosion started deep underground at the 3 mining stations. The experimental energy cores overloaded simultaneously, creating a chain reaction that traveled through the planet's crust. The energy built up and up until it reached the feeding tentacles of the Voidborn bio-ships. What happened next was beyond anything anyone had imagined. The massive energy surge shot up the feeding tentacles and into the alien vessels, bioships, which were designed to absorb energy slowly and carefully. Suddenly had more power than they could handle flowing into them. The first bioship began to convulse. Its living hull bulged and twisted as the energy overload tore through its organic systems. Then it exploded in a burst of light that was visible from 3-star systems away. The energy feedback spread from ship to ship through the Voidborn's shared connection. Within minutes, the entire remaining fleet was caught in the overload. Their hulls split open like ripe fruit. Their weapon systems failed. Their biomechanical hearts stopped beating. One by one, the massive alien vessels tore themselves apart from the inside. The space around Kepler Colony filled with floating chunks of organic debris that had once been the most feared invasion fleet in the galaxy. Then there was silence for a long moment. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The human fleet floated in space, staring at the destruction they had caused. Finally, Amy's voice broke the silence from the Liberty. "Captain, I'm reading no life signs from any of the Voidborn ships. They're all dead." Cheers began to echo across the human communication channels. They had done the impossible. They had defeated a Voidborn invasion fleet, but the real victory was something else. The humans had saved 5 million innocent lives. They had shown the galaxy that evil could be defeated when good people were willing to fight for what was right. "This is Admiral Harper to all ships." The Admiral's voice came over the radio. "Today, we proved something important. We proved that no one fights alone while humans are watching. We proved that doing the right thing is more important than doing the easy thing." On the planet's surface, the Verdani people emerged from their shelters to see the wreckage of their enemies floating in space above. Elder Kithara looked up at the stars where the human ships waited. "Thank you," he whispered. The battle of Kepler Colony was over. The Voidborn were defeated, but the real war, the war for the soul of the galaxy, was just beginning, and humanity had fired the first shot. News of humanity's victory at Kepler Colony spread across the galaxy faster than any ship could travel. For the first time in galactic history, someone had not only fought the Voidborn, but had actually won. The news shocked every alien civilization within days. The Galactic Council chambers on Nexus Prime were in complete chaos. Ambassador Helen Grant stood before the assembled alien delegates with a confidence she had never shown before. The same beings who had called humans dangerous primitives now listened carefully to every word she said. Helen was an experienced diplomat with gray hair and intelligent brown eyes. She had been Earth's representative to the Council for 5 years. In all that time, the aliens had barely paid attention to her. Now they hung on her every word. "Honored delegates," Helen began, her voice carrying clearly through the huge chamber. 3 weeks ago, you received the same distress call from Kepler Colony that we did. You declared that 5 billion innocent people were outside your area of control. You said your resources were needed elsewhere. Zephyrian Trade Minister, a tall, blue-skinned alien with 4 arms, shifted uncomfortably in his floating chair. The Crystalline Collective's representative remained silent, but the crystal patterns on their body showed nervous energy. You abandoned those people to die because it was inconvenient to help them, Helen continued. But humanity heard that same call for help. We had 37 people on one small ship in that area. Our military was weeks away. By every practical calculation, we should have done exactly what you did. Nothing. The chamber filled with confused alien voices as the translation systems tried to process what Helen was saying. Many of the delegates seemed unable to understand why humans would risk their lives for strangers. "But we have a saying on Earth," Helen said, raising her voice above the noise. "The only thing necessary for evil to win is for good people to do nothing." So we did something. High Counselor Vexstar of the Nexari spoke up. The Nexari were a proud warrior race with insect-like features and a reputation for military strength. The humans proved they can fight. Yes. But this victory was achieved through reckless tactics. Such methods cannot be sustained in real warfare. Helen smiled, and several alien delegates moved back in their seats. They had learned that human smiles could be very dangerous. Counselor Vextar, you misunderstand what happened at Kepler Colony. We didn't win because we were reckless. Won because we were right. The Verdani people are alive today because when they called for help, someone answered. She paused and looked around the chamber at all the alien faces watching her. A Voidborn. I've gone from that sector because when evil showed its face, good people stood up to fight it. That's not reckless. That's what civilized beings do. Counselor Zarthik of the Hegemony, a reptilian species known for their cold logic, leaned forward. But, Ambassador Grant, your species suffered significant losses. 43 ships destroyed, thousands of personnel killed. Was this sacrifice economically viable? Helen's expression hardened. Counselor, you just asked me if saving 5 billion lives was economically viable. Do you understand how that sounds to a human? The translation systems struggled with Helen's tone. Several aliens looked confused. Let me explain it simply, Helen said. Every single human who died at Kepler Colony volunteered to be there. They knew the odds. They knew they might not come home. But they also knew that innocent people were dying, and that was unacceptable. She walked closer to the center of the chamber. Galactic Council has maintained peace for 3,000 years through careful diplomacy and strategic non-interference. But peace maintained through inaction isn't peace. It's just delayed suffering. The chamber erupted in angry, alien voices. The idea that their ancient system was flawed seemed to offend many of the delegates. Helen waited for quiet, then continued. The galaxy is changing. The Voidborn proved that evil doesn't respect your boundaries or your treaties. You can't either change with the galaxy or be left behind. Over the following weeks, the political landscape of the galaxy shifted dramatically. 17 alien species that had never aligned with any major power requested formal alliances with humanity. They had seen what humans would do for strangers and wanted that protection for themselves. The Verdani became the first non-human species to join the human sphere of influence. Their agricultural knowledge helped feed human expansion into new sectors. Elder Cathara himself came to Earth to sign the alliance treaty. Your people saved us when no one else would, the old Verdani told President Martinez during the signing ceremony. We will never forget that debt. But the most significant change was in how other species viewed humanity. Captain Morrison, now promoted to Admiral, established the first Human-Alien Defense Coalition headquarters on the rebuilt Kepler Colony. The message was clear. Never again would a call for help go unanswered while humans were able to respond. The species that had ignored humanity for decades now sought human protection. It's the gentle Aquarian Federation, the peaceful Botanical Collective. Even some former Galactic Council members quietly approached human diplomats about defense agreements. The Galactic Council found itself increasingly irrelevant. When the mining world of Petra was attacked by space pirates, they didn't call the Council. They called the humans. When the research station at Gamma Epsilon was threatened by a rogue AI, they sent their distress call to Admiral Morrison. Admiral Harper, now in charge of all human military forces, established a new doctrine. Any call for help will be answered. Any threat to innocent life will be met with force. Any species that preys on the weak will find humans standing in their way. The galaxy learned something fundamental about humanity during those months. Humans were not the strongest species in space. They were not the smartest or the most advanced. But they were the only species that would cross the galaxy to fight for people they had never met. Simply because it was right. Dr. Nancy White, now head of the Human-Alien Research Institute, put it simply during a speech to the new coalition. Other species fight for territory, resources, or survival. Humans fight for ideals. That's what makes us different. Years passed, and the Human-Alien Defense Coalition grew stronger. More species joined every month. The Voidborn were spotted in distant sectors, but they never again attacked a world under human protection. The old Galactic Council still existed, but it was mostly ceremonial now. Real decisions were made by the coalition that humans had built through their actions rather than their words, and throughout the galaxy, on 1,000 different worlds, whenever darkness threatened to overwhelm the light, whenever evil seemed ready to triumph over good. The same message would echo through space on every communication frequency. Send word to the humans. They will come. And they always did. Children on distant worlds grew up hearing stories about the humans who came to Kepler Colony, about Captain Morrison and his small crew who refused to let strangers die alone, about Admiral Harper and her fleet that crossed the galaxy to fight for what was right. The galaxy had learned the most important lesson about humanity. They never left anyone behind, and that lesson changed everything.